right, good evening, folks. I'm sorry, I know I'm running a little behind times. Got some visitors from Minnesota up right now, and so we're just eating dinner, and I had to run back to the house and get to the office and get prepared for the show. So I'm going to be playing some audio from a podcast called Bearing Arms, talking about a new ballot initiative here in Missouri. So, Jackson County, St. Louis County, they can turn around and write their own gun laws on what's permissible and what is not and all that silly nonsense. So I'm going to get into that, and I want to get into this child trafficking thing a little bit just from some of the things that I've heard that drive me absolutely batty. So with that being said, let me start the recording, and we shall get into the Freedom Talk.
In the restaurant of life, we're putting freedom back on the menu. It's the Missouri Liberty Report with John Williams, working with grassroots organizations and legislatures to make Missouri the freest state in the nation. Let freedom ring.
All right, folks, excuse me, and we're back with another edition of the Missouri Liberty Report. Thanks so much for joining me this evening, or whatever time of day that you hear this podcast or rewatch the live stream, hear it on radio. However you get this podcast, again, I truly appreciate everyone's support. So this evening, I've got some audio from a podcast that I would like to play. Now, it's going to be, I don't know, around probably 10, 15 minutes of audio. I can't remember exactly how long it goes. I just know that, so there is a move in Missouri. There's going to be a ballot initiative that's going to be passed around, an initiative petition that's going to be, you're going to start seeing probably next year, that because Jackson County and St. Louis County and Kansas City and St. Louis City mayors are upset and they want to change gun laws for their cities. And we all know how dangerous that is. I mean, we all know, common sense-wise, that's not going to be good for the people of, Jackson County, or if it's just Kansas City, St. Louis. But I want to play this audio, let it play out, and we'll discuss it. And then I've got some other topics that I want to get into. But this is highly important. We're going to cover the Missouri side first, and then I want to get into like a national issue after that. So let me play this out, and we'll be back in a few minutes to discuss it.
You are a regular viewer / listener to Cam & Company. You know, we've been talking quite a bit about the war on firearms preemption that is taking place around the country, right? Columbus, Ohio City Attorney Zach Klein trying to undo preemption in the courts by, along with the city council there, enforcing some measures that directly contradict the state of Ohio's firearm preemption law. Democrats in Colorado repealed that state's preemption law a couple of years ago. There was a move in Florida by some elected officials to sue over that state's firearms preemption law. They lost, by the way, in court, which is nice to see. But the attacks continue. In fact, Indianapolis City Council scheduled to vote today. The vote has not taken place as of the time that I'm recording this, but they're going to approve several new local gun control ordinances that they acknowledge cannot be enforced until the state of Indiana repeals its firearm preemption law. But again, this is part of a pressure campaign to get lawmakers to do just that. And here's the Kansas City Star this week. Kansas City awash in firearms, but Missouri bans local leaders from regulating guns. Right. So again, left with the clear impression that, the answer must be allowing more local control to these cities. As the Kansas City Star writes, Kansas City confronts a rising tide of killings this year. One tool remains out of bounds for local leaders and law enforcement: restrictions on guns. For nearly 40 years, the paper writes, the Missouri General Assembly has retained for itself the sole authority to regulate firearms. The closely guarded power has kept city councils and county commissions around the state from imposing limits on concealed weapons or requiring the registration of handguns. But as the toll of gun violence has mounted in Kansas City and St. Louis in recent years, that power faces a growing challenge from anti-violence advocates, local leaders, and others frustrated by what they say is a major obstacle to combating the daily rhythm of shootings in the two cities. Again, if we only had the ability to put our own local laws in place, by God, everything would be different. Kansas City Mayor Quentin Lucas and the mayors of St. Louis, Columbia, and Springfield scheduled to meet in Kansas City on Thursday to, quote, discuss collective solutions to gun violence and state preemption laws. That, according to the mayor's chief of staff. Luke is also scheduled to meet with the group Sensible Missouri on Wednesday. That is the group that is putting together this ballot initiative to try to repeal firearms preemption in the state of Missouri. Luke has told reporters on Friday, quote, I think the community is awash in firearms, and largely firearms that are in place where people are either drinking or looking at retaliation or looking at any number of issues. And I think it is clear, not just from Kansas City, but if you talk to mayors, prosecutors, and police officers in any major city in the country, these are ingredients that have led to more incidents like these. Now, here's the thing. As we reported last week, crime analyst Jeff Asher has been looking at the numbers, and he says we're actually on pace for perhaps the biggest one-year drop in the homicide rate nationwide. So it's important to remember that Kansas City is actually bucking the trend. In fact, homicides in St. Louis this year still far higher than they should be, but according to the city of St. Louis, and I'm looking here to see the data here. This is from June 30th. The city of St. Louis has actually seen a 3.5% decline in the number of homicides recorded this year. Kansas City homicides up almost 20%. But again, around the country, what we're actually seeing, more cities noticing a decline in violent crime and homicides, and in fact, some cases, a very sizable drop. And that would include places that have, again, firearms preemption laws that are in place, as well as things like constitutional carry. Again, this is not something that you can look at and say, okay, well, Texas has constitutional carry and firearms preemption, and things are getting better. Not really. I mean, Houston seen a dramatic decline in homicides this year, 24% drop in yearly homicides as of May 31st. Dallas, Texas, on the other hand, has seen a 7.8% increase in homicides this year compared to last year. That's through July the 5th. So when you look at the data and you see, you know, states like or cities like Greensboro, North Carolina, 57% increase in violent crime. Now, they don't have constitutional carry. They don't even have, they did repeal the pistol purchase permit requirement earlier this year, which is good. There's still plenty of gun control laws on the books in North Carolina. Let's take a look at New Jersey, for example. New Jersey does not have firearms preemption laws. And what you find is that some cities are doing better than others in New Jersey. Crime can be up in a city like Trenton, down in a place like Jersey City. So I would say that what we're looking at here really are local issues, but local gun laws are not going to make much of an impact. Why? Well, local laws are generally misdemeanor offenses. It's the state that sets felony level offenses, right? You go to state prison. You don't go to Kansas City prison. You go to jail in Kansas City, again, for a misdemeanor crime. But what we're talking about here are serious crimes of violence, serious felony level offenses. And I think if you want to reduce crime in Kansas City, Missouri, in Kansas City and St. Louis, you have to look at the criminal justice system and policing first before you look at adding any new gun laws to the books. That's even before we get into the constitutionality of these proposals. Now, as the Kansas City Star notes, proponents of returning local control to gun policy over to local government say that there are a variety of rules that cities and counties could enact to have some effect on violence. Some say officials could implement new handgun permit requirements, mimicking at a local level the repealed statewide rules. And again, in Kansas City, in St. Louis, and every city in Missouri, only those who can lawfully possess a firearm can lawfully carry it. Permitless carry doesn't mean that prohibited persons all of a sudden get a get out of jail free card. So, yeah, they could impose a licensing requirement if preemption went away. But what would that do? The people who are committing these violent crimes in St. Louis and in Kansas City, by and large, are not legally possessing these firearms right now. So they would continue to be in illegal possession of a firearm that they currently are not allowed to possess. What's the change in law that's going to actually make these cities a safer place? And again, keep in mind, this would be a misdemeanor offense. You'd be looking at maybe a fine, maybe the possibility of a few months in jail. And I say maybe because, again, if you arrest somebody and they're charged with a violent offense, a misdemeanor isn't going to add any more time. In fact, I would worry that a misdemeanor offense, when you're facing felony level charges, could be used as plea bargain bait. And it is used as plea bargain bait around the country. We saw this, we see this on a regular basis in our recidivist report, where individuals who are facing serious violent felony charges end up copping a plea down to misdemeanors. They get probation, they get a slap on the wrist, and they're sent on their way. So to act that repealing firearms preemption in the state of Missouri would somehow lead to more punishment for violent criminals, I think is absolutely false. Now, even among those who are in favor of repealing preemption, there is also some disagreement as to what laws need to be in place. Groups like Sensible Missouri, the mayor of Kansas City may want to see more restrictions again on concealed carry. But according to the Kansas City Star, others say guns have so thoroughly proliferated society that permits may be of limited use. Instead, they say ordinances requiring guns to be safely stored or requiring owners to report stolen or missing firearms could make a difference. Jennifer Joyce, a Democrat who served as the St. Louis Circuit Attorney from 2001 to 2016, said she sensed a growing availability of guns and more homicides of young people over her tenure as firearm restrictions were rolled back. She's now a principal at the Vera Causa Group, which provides leadership training and consulting services to prosecutors. She says, I think the horse has left the barn when it comes to handgun permits, adding that she focuses more on measures like requiring parents to keep guns locked up. Now, storage laws have their own dangers to them, right? I think we as gun owners want to make sure that juveniles, particularly those who we don't want having access to firearms, don't have easy access. But at the same time, it's difficult to come up with a one-size-fits-all policy that is going to protect lawful gun owners and those who may have given their juvenile children an education in how to be safe and responsible with firearms. They don't mind their child having access to a firearm for the purposes of self-defense in particular. And we've seen those stories too, where juveniles defend either themselves or their parents during home invasions or burglaries because they were able to access that firearm. Again, it's a more complicated situation. They said, well, if we just had a law on the books, then that would take care of the problem. And even the mayor of Kansas City, Quentin Lucas, kind of acknowledged as much, saying on Friday that gun regulation, quote, isn't everything, pointing to criminal activity in Chicago, Philadelphia, and other major cities with some level of firearm restrictions. But the mayor says he is a believer in, quote, local solutions to local problems. He said, I think that anything that allows the people of Kansas City to have a stronger voice in connection with how we can feel safer when we're going to grocery stores, schools, or for a night out is something that would be positive for us in the long term. I disagree, because I don't think it's about feeling safer. I think it's about being safer. When it comes to being safer, we know that there are a few things that can make a dramatic impact in terms of violent crime, starting with focusing on the most violent and prolific offenders, not trying to make it harder for law-abiding citizens to protect themselves. And that's apparently off the table in Kansas City and in St. Louis, because, again, their efforts are aimed squarely at law-abiding gun owners, at responsible gun owners, at folks who, again, who are trying to comply with the law, not those who don't give a damn about human life, much less the felony statutes that are already in place in the state of Missouri. Again, firearms preemption, it's not the it's firearm preemption laws are a way for the state to provide a uniform body of regulations that gun owners can easily follow. An end to firearm preemption laws creates a patchwork quilt of these local ordinances, again, that are completely ineffective at reducing violent crime, but may very well have a chilling effect on the lawful exercise of our right to keep and bear arms. If you live in St. Louis or one of the suburbs, you drive, through 3 or 4 different communities on your way to and from work every day, you would be expected to know what those ordinances are. in every one of those bedroom communities. Because if you violate one of those ordinances, again, you can be looking at a misdemeanor offense. Now, for violent criminal, no big deal, right? They've got a list probably as long as their arm of misdemeanor arrests. But for those of us who, again, try to stay on the right side of the law, even a misdemeanor is something that we don't want to have on our record. And so some people, again, not violent criminals, but regular gun owners, would choose not to exercise the right to keep and bear arms because it would become so legally perilous to try to exercise a fundamental civil right. Again, that's not the answer for trying to fight violent crime. It's certainly not the answer for trying to protect people's rights while fighting violent crime. And an end to firearms preemption would mean less security, less safety, and honestly, more plea bargain opportunities for the individuals who are responsible for these homicides and shootings in Kansas City and St. Louis. We'll keep our eyes on what's going on with this ballot initiative. Clearly, the mayor of Kansas City, anyway, looks to be getting behind this proposal. They're in the signature gathering process. They need to collect, I believe, about 174,000 signatures to get on the ballot in 2024. So we'll keep you apprised as to the progress that's being made in an attempt to roll back Missouri's protections on the right to keep and bear arms. Right now, let's turn our attention to today's armed citizen story.
All right. I just wanted to, I kind of wanted to bring that to everyone's attention because I was like, oh, that's great. You guys are going to, and I saw or heard somewhere that the mayors of St. Louis, Kansas City, Springfield, and Columbia were all going to go to some kind of meeting and hash this out. And it might have been in that audio, and I just didn't catch it. But I do know that Columbia, Springfield, St. Louis, Kansas City, these mayors want to get together, have a meeting, and talk about, ending firearm preemption. Okay. And, again, I want to touch on a couple things. These rules on how you have to store your guns, how you have to, and all this stuff. And again, I think the most important part, if you're in around St. Louis, Kansas City, some of these areas that have all these suburbs, and every suburb has a different rule, then how in the world are you supposed to, how are you going to want to carry just based on the fact that you may get caught, you may get a misdemeanor. Traffic violation, and they're like, oh, do you have any weapons on you? And you say yes, and like, oh, that's not legal in whatever suburb you're in. And so you get people to keep their guns at home. And what's the saying that, we've heard a million times, that a armed society is a polite society? Well, if people are commuting in from outside St. Louis to St. Louis to go to work, and you're going from a low crime area into a high crime area, and now you can't carry your firearm with you in your car. They use the wording like we want people just want to feel safe. Well, if you're a commuter, and let's say you're coming from St. Charles, right? Or you're coming from Manchester and you're going to downtown St. Louis. Are you going to feel safe driving to work if you know that you can't keep your firearm with you in the car as you're commuting to work because you may break laws from, again, depending on whatever town you're going into? And so this, as he said, there's a difference between feeling safe and being safe. And I feel like it's so dumb. It's so dumb. Let's face it. A lot of people base there's too many people in this world who base their decisions on their feelings and not the truth or not facts. And so when you have mayors pushing for people to feel safe, okay, so nobody around you is armed. Now, the criminal is going to feel pretty safe knowing that they can commit a crime and no one around there is going to be able to keep them at bay, defend themselves or others around them in the area, because they're going to have a heyday. So the only people who will truly feel safe if things like this are allowed or put into place is the criminals and law-abiding citizens who don't go murder. They don't seek revenge on others, and so they're around alcohol and they're seeking revenge. What he's talking about are criminals. And the reason they're criminals is because they don't pay attention to the laws on the books in the beginning. So why would they start paying attention to them after you pass these laws? Of course, they're not going to. That's the reason they're a criminal, because they disobey laws. Now, you could take that all the way out. If you're looking at federal laws, all of us are criminals, because you can't hardly get out of bed and put both feet on the floor without being a criminal, right? But if you're just trying to go to work, you're trying to commute, or you go into the city to go shopping or whatever, and you can't carry a firearm anymore, I would hope that people just stop going to St. Louis. For whatever reason they decide to go. If they're going to go to a ball game, they're going to go wherever, I hope people just stop coming into St. Louis. Again, but we have, and here's where the ballot initiative process, the crap ballot initiative laws that we have on the books now in Missouri, that's why there's such a problem. That's why the ballot initiative process is such a problem in the state, because it takes 50% plus one to pass. Now, we have tried to push for sensible IP reform in the state, and leadership is not interested in that. They try to push stuff that makes it easier for them to run around it, but it makes it harder for us. So grassroots organizations like the Missouri Freedom Initiative and others have pushed for IP reform, and the leadership is not interested. So if this gets on the ballot and it passes, like the shoddy A3 amendment that passed, because only 13 counties out of the whole state passed that. If this passes, then we have a problem. But with firearm preemption on the books, it's meaningless. So what's this? To me, this says to me that they do this first. The next plan of attack is to go after firearm preemption laws and try to get those off the books. So we've got a lot of work to do in the state of Missouri, folks. We got to get rid of, we got to reform, the ballot, the IP. IP reformation has got to be done in a sensible way. Where, yes, we want it to be harder to amend the Constitution or to get things through like this, right? We want to make it harder for these things to get done. But let's do it on the vote side and not the signature side, where the only people who can get it done are the groups with the big money, like the folks that backed A3, Amendment 3. That was a major money operation, and because of our ballot laws, they got it shoved down our throats with 13 counties or 16 counties, whatever it was, making that amendment part of the Constitution. And that's ridiculous. That should never happen, but it did. And now we have a problem, and we could have another problem. I say this. This is my feelings on it. I feel like if you live in St. Louis, if you live around the Kansas City area, maybe if you live in Springfield or Columbia, and you're concerned about, just the crime in general, and then you see what they're trying to do, again, I would urge you to get out. Get out of those areas. Get out of those cities. Leave the criminal elements and the scum of the earth to stay there, and then you get out and watch those cities fall apart. because I mean, uh, my the dog is in the room with me, and she found a cap on the floor, and now she's chewing on it like a weirdo. But trying to get her attention. But yeah, these cities think that again more laws make hold. Oh, I don't know what I did, but I hit something. It's getting that away from the door. Shut up, computer. Okay. But anyway, they think again that more laws create a just society, and they're wrong. Or they're trying to create a utopia with laws, and we've again with all the federal laws on the book. If more laws create a utopia, then everybody should have mansions and no crime, and everybody just has all kinds of money, and everyone's happy, and so on and so forth. And we see that is not the case. What we see is a lot of unhappy people being their wealth being taxed and stolen away from them, and all these other things. But we do not see any type of a beautiful society that's just crime free and everything is golden, everything's kittens and sunshine. That's not what we see. But these Democrats, this is their way of taking guns from law-abiding citizens. It's not about the crime. It's because you, as a law-abiding citizen, have a means to fight, to defend yourself, and also fight back against a tyrannical government. They don't like that. They want total control of you and me. So that's something to keep an eye on. Something we're going to have to fight against, and another thing we're going to have to educate the heck out of people on in order to put a stop to these laws, to these ballot initiatives, because this just cannot be allowed to happen. But regardless, even if this fails, I think a big priority for us in the coming legislative session is definitely IP reform. We have got to get that done. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. We've got to get IP reform done in a meaningful manner that allows us to, have an end-around leadership in this state that will not listen to the people, but yet doesn't allow big money outfits to change the Constitution on a whim. So, again, something to look forward to. Now, I want to delve into another topic. And it's something that has been just really grinding my gears. Now, I have not seen the movie The Sound of Freedom yet, okay? I haven't seen it. I've just heard about it. And when I looked it up, what I saw was I was doing a search. I just did a search about the movie, and I kept seeing this movie has ties to QAnon. The facts in this movie is based on QAnon. It was scattered throughout the Washington Post, other newspapers, all tying into QAnon. We know QAnon is tied to Trump. And yes, QAnon was a bunch of idiots running around thinking that Trump was the Messiah and everything else, and he was going to save us all. And clearly that didn't happen. And because, let's face it, those people are goofy. But because QAnon made such news in the media, and now they want to tie this to QAnon. Now, I have to ask a question. What does that say about our media? What does it say about the media that when someone makes a movie about child trafficking and the horrors, and supposedly the people who made this film know kids that were saved from child sex trafficking or just child trafficking in general, and have heard the stories and talked to them and have kindled friendships with them, and the media comes out and says, QAnon, what does that say for... And most of you guys that are listening to this show don't trust the media. You don't trust what they say. And you know that they have a slant, a political slant. They have a bias in their reporting. We know all these things. What does it say about our media when a movie that comes out that talks on this subject, that tries to bring, shine a light on it, and they automatically refer to QAnon? What does that say? It doesn't speak very highly for the media in this in this country. It doesn't speak highly of them at all. They are willing to protect the elites and the pedophiles in this country who would defile a child instead of standing up for children. And when I sat and thought about it the other day, it really made me angry. I mean, my blood was boiling. And just talking to a lot of people about it, it's like you sit and you just think about the world and what kind of world will allow this to happen to kids. What kind of people would turn a blind eye or try to deflect and say, oh, these people are nuts, they're with QAnon, don't pay attention. What kind of a society do we live in where the elites that run these media organizations have the tools to deflect and try to belittle those who would try to bring light about what's going on? I mean, we had a report 85,000 children have disappeared. And I think these are ones that have crossed the border. Disappeared. And it's crickets. Those in D.C., they're not really talking about it. They're not saying anything. They're just acting like, oh, well, there's just a bunch of crazy people making up stats. It's like, excuse me, no one's concerned about the 85,000 kids that have disappeared? You don't want to know what happened to them? What did we hear when Trump was president? And this is not ooh, yay, Trump. I'm just saying, when Trump's saying we're going to deport these people, we build a wall, oh my God, you can't do this to these families, these kids, blah, blah, blah. But now that Biden is in office, now that their guy's in office, and 85,000 kids have disappeared, crickets. You don't hear anything. You hear nothing from these people. I think that speaks volumes. And it's disturbing that they would cover things up like this. I want to play a very short audio clip. Now, this is from, I think his name's James Caviezel. He starred in this movie, The Sound of Freedom. And he's at some kind of event, and he's speaking. And he just has, it's about a 2-minute audio clip. Let me play this for you.
And said, what do we say to our brothers and sisters now caught behind their iron curtain? Give up your dreams of freedom now, because in order to save our own skins, we're just too willing to make a deal with your slave masters? Do you and I have the courage to say there is a price we will not pay? There is a point beyond which evil must not advance. We go on to say that evil is powerless if the good are unafraid. Well, you and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth. But we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness. We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars. And it's been said, if we lose this war, and in so doing lose this great way of freedom of ours, history will record with the greatest astonishment that those that had the most to lose did the least to prevent it from happening. Well, I think it's high time now that we ask ourselves if we still even know the freedoms that were intended for us by our founding fathers. Every generation of Americans needs to know that freedom exists, not to do what you like, but having the right to do what you ought. And that is the freedom that I wish for you. Set yourselves apart from this corrupt generation. Be saints. You aren't made to fit in. You are born to stand out. God bless you.
And you know what? He's right. You're made to stand out and and not just be a part of this corruption. You have to stand apart from this, and you have to speak up, and you have to speak out. You absolutely have to speak out. If we cannot stand up for kids, little kids who are defenseless, if we can't stand up for them, then we as a society, as a nation, as a world are doomed to fail. If you cannot protect the most innocent of us, we have no business. You know, we have no business being human beings. We have no business talking and talking about freedom and talking about liberty if we can't protect children. If we can't say to people around us, whether it's transgender operations, gender-affirming care, hormones, mutilating surgeries, or trafficking, if we can't say, keep your damn hands off the kids, we have no hope for mankind. We really don't have any hope for mankind. And that's sad to say. I should not have to ever get behind a microphone and say, hey, we should protect the kids. Your instincts should scream that. Instinct should tell you we have to protect the kids. First and foremost, the most innocent of us must be protected. And why are we hearing that? Why are we hearing about this? I for one am a little sick and tired of it all. You know, you hear about this adrenochrome thing. My son's been telling me about that. And it's that if that is here's the thing, folks. I don't know. I can't say this is all factual, but you hear about the acrinodrome, where they scare the bejesus out of the kid because it dumps adrenaline into their blood, and then they kill that child, taking the blood, and people are using it. If that is true, we have a problem. Why are we not standing up for the kids? Why are we not doing more to thwart the evil that walks among us? Because I don't want anything, I just don't want anything to do with a society where you have people in power who are willing, maybe because they're a part of it, who knows, some of them probably are. Why are we giving the time of day, people on the left or the right, who suspect someone in their party, or fingers are pointed at a member of a party saying, we got a pretty good idea that this guy's a part of this, and because the other side's saying it, they want nothing to do with it. But it has to do with kids. So why would you not want to look into that and say, is this true? Because if so, this person needs to be thrown in jail. Or listen, this is not nice. I probably get in trouble for this, and when you're talking about this, I don't care. Maybe we give them, if you know Greek mythology, give them the old Prometheus treatment, right? Remember Prometheus? He gave fire to humans in Greek mythology, and he angered Zeus, and Zeus took the fire away, and Prometheus gave it back because Prometheus wanted the humans to have a leg up on the animals. And it angered Zeus so that he chained him to a rock and sent an eagle to eat out his liver every day, and his liver would regenerate, and the next day the eagle would come back and chew his liver out again. Do we need to start looking at Prometheus treatments for people who would torment, kill kids, use them as sex slaves? Do we need to do that? I'm down. I'm down, folks. I'm all for it. I don't know how you, well, I know how. They're covering up. People got to turn those stations off. And people have to get angry enough to, I don't know, show up several thousand strong, walk into their buildings and their headquarters and say, what are you doing? Why are you pushing this? Why are you acting like this isn't happening? I mean, remember Epstein, the guy, a reporter from Epstein had all that, and she was told not to run it, and she was highly upset after Epstein was arrested, and then he killed himself. Remember how upset she was because she had breaking news on that from a girl and was told, don't run the story. And we know the horrors of what happened on Epstein Island. Haven't seen the client list. That's awful odd, isn't it? I wonder why we haven't seen the client list. Huh. And now we've got this going on. And we see sometimes in the news how these police officers or police departments or groups have rescued so many kids from child trafficking. But when a movie comes out, and now James Caviezel is a pretty devout Christian. Okay, I think he played in Mel Gibson's The Passion of the Christ. Pretty Christian guy. He's not afraid to talk about it. But when guys like him do a movie like this, and the media craps all over it, and doesn't even give it a chance, I think somebody's right over the target. And they don't want you to know that they're right over the target, but their actions tell you that someone or some people, many people, are right over the target when we're talking about this. They are hitting bullseyes on this topic. And so the media would have you not hearing about it because too many people depend on these major media outlets for all their information, and if they don't get it from them, then it surely must not be happening, or it's made up, or it's right-wing conspiracy theories, or however you want to put it, right? That's all they can come up with. And that is also really screwed up. But that's what we're getting. We're getting silence. I'm sorry. I know I'm probably a little louder than normal, but I'm pretty ticked off right now. When you have kids of your own and you see this happening to other kids, it really hits home. And there's a lot of people that don't have kids that this really hits home. They understand the issue here. And now you got this, it's not just this. I mean, this is a big part of it. But then you have this freak job come out and say that they want to have a healthy uterus put into their body so they can be the first trans person to have an abortion. This is our society. These people are a part of our society. I'm not saying take them out, but pay attention, folks, because there will be people who will applaud this type of behavior day in and day out. And I'm sorry, but if someone came up to me and said that, and said, I want to be the first transgender person to have a healthy uterus from somebody who's willing to donate it to me and put inside me so then I can get pregnant and abort a fetus. All I'm saying is you better not be around me when you say that and we're close to a flight of steps, because there's a good chance you're going to go rolling down them. I just don't have use for you if that is your goal. As a human being, if that is your goal, then you're a piece of crap. And whew. A lot of the reason I do this show is because I want my kids to have a better world than I did. I want my kids to be more free than I was at their age and as they age, and maybe, hopefully, they fight for more freedom if they decide to have kids for their kids. And then you hear all this stuff, and you see it. It's right in your face. And they're so giddy about it. And they act like it's such a great thing. And there are people who will celebrate along with them. And I just don't have use for human beings like that. In this world today, too many people think it's okay just to toss a life away. Too many people let their political, whatever political beliefs they have, get in the way of good judgment. And get in the way of looking at the facts. And getting in the way of critically thinking about things. Nope. They kowtow to people like Trump and Biden and some of these others. And they worship in a cult. And they cease to think. And the only way they know how to think is if somebody tells them how to think. And they regurgitate what they hear because they've taken their brain out and put it in storage for a while. And maybe down the road they'll put it back in and start thinking. But if their guy's saying something that invokes a feeling in them, without thinking, they utter this nonsense. They utter these incoherencies and think that they're doing the right thing. That they're doing what's best for everyone. And what it is, honestly, is solely based on selfishness. And because it's a jab at the other side. And it gives them some sort of good feeling to just poke the bear on the other side of the political aisle. And that's the only freaking reason. Now, I will say this. Sometimes a Republican can say something about a Democrat that's quite true and quite thoughtful and factual. It's dead on. And sometimes, once in a while, a Democrat can say something about the Republicans that's dead on and true. But then they have to add. They have to exaggerate. They have to add their own flair to it, and then they dump, their blivets, 2 pounds of crap in a 1 pound bag. They overstuff. They have to add politics into the mix, and they ruin what could be a really good argument because they have to inject their political party into it, and they have to keep, this snowball effect. And instead of just sticking with straight facts and going on, then we have to, they have this flair for the dramatic, and then it all goes astray because they have to pile the stupid on top. But yeah, folks, I want to have hope for our country. I want to have hope for the people around me. I want to have hope for my friends and family. But when you see and you hear these things, it's really hard. It's really hard to feel good about society. It's hard to have hope for society. we look at what this, we know, so a lot of us know what know the difference between right and wrong. Instinctually, on an intellectual level, we know the difference between right and wrong. We know how things were supposed to be in this country. Liberty and justice for all. And the kids are taking a beating. Education, politics, science-wise, trafficking, tons of inhumane treatment, mental and physical abuse being perpetrated on a lot of young kids. A lot of, I always say brainwashing, but Sam and Trish got me saying brain dirtying. They're muddying the waters. And these kids, if they don't have parents at home willing to tell them what the truth actually is, what it actually is, and not based on feelings, what the truth actually is, these kids are confused as hell. Because sometimes the parents don't know any better. They're basing everything on feelings. And, honestly, folks, when it comes to talking about these subjects, I get angry. I get very angry. I feel angry. Am I going to go out and start pushing people down flights of stairs and punching them? No. I won't let my actions, I try not to let my actions be dictated by my feelings. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I get rather angry. But I try not to let my emotions override me and drive me to do something really dumb, right? I try not to do that. Sometimes you'll say something in the heat of a moment, you're like, oh boy, shouldn't have said that. Things like that. And it's really hard. When you hear these stories and you see the way things are being portrayed in the media, when you see what's going on in the world around you, it's hard not to let your emotions get the best of you. It's hard not to feel angry and then want to take that anger out on someone else. And I would say that's not a good idea. We shouldn't be doing that. But at the same time, we got to do something. There must be righteous anger. Righteous anger has got to be in here somewhere. Mad Mom in the live chat here makes a good point. People don't give a crap until they are affected. Society rotting at a rapid pace in color and real time. That's true. For too long, too many people have waited until it's too late, until it actually affected them. Because sometimes, too many people in society are so self-centered that if there's a law or a regulation that doesn't affect them right away, they don't care. And then when those things come knocking at their door, oh man, do they get upset. That behavior has to end now. It should have ended a long time ago, but it definitely has to end now. It's perfectly okay to think about your own freedoms being bombarded and trampled on. You have to also keep an eye on the freedoms of people around you. And there may be somebody that you don't like that's being trampled on by some wannabe tyrant in a city council or a county office or a state office. And if their freedoms are being trampled and not yours at the time, you still have to stand up for theirs too. And if we don't stand up for the kids in this country, we are doomed. Now, I don't want to come on here and be a Debbie Downer. But there was no way that I could not talk about this tonight. And I have not really given my feelings on it. But there's just no way, and I'm going to have Sam Britton back on with me pretty soon because he's been really covering this hot and heavy. And we're going to bring him on, and that's all we're going to talk about sometime in August. But you can't just ignore it. You can't just ignore it. And if you continue to ignore it, it's our downfall. If you don't protect kids from pedophiles and abusive people, and I don't care what level of society they're in, if you can't protect kids from those people, this world is doomed. And I hate to say that, but it's true. So if somebody knows how to do the old Prometheus, punishment on somebody, you get some really bad pedophile, some high-ranking pedophile, some high-ranking guy in a child trafficking ring. Maybe the old Prometheus punishment will. Maybe that'll, wake some people up. I don't know. All right, for those of you in the KEYK audience, thank you so much for joining me this week. Real quick, if you haven't checked out Rogue Politics, the Rogue Politics podcast, you can find them on Spreaker, Apple, and iHeartRadio and Spotify. Check them out. All right, folks, I'm not going to go on too much longer, but again, I got to look into this topic and talking about it and thinking about it, and it got me pretty fired up. I'm not going to lie. I was super upset. Yeah, as Tom Hart says, you've got to stand for something or you'll fall for anything. And I think if you can't stand up for the kids of our world, we don't stand a chance in hell. And I hate to say that, but it's true. If we can't stand up for the most innocent in our world, we're screwed. And I sure as hell don't want my kids growing up in a society that turns, if this it continues to get worse, I don't know how much longer this world will survive if this continues to go on without people and places being punished severely for their crimes against humanity. I don't know how this world can survive much longer. Because I don't see how there won't be a reckoning for this. I don't. I don't care. I don't care if you have a religious view of things or not. If you understand that kids deserve to be protected, and that and if you feel that in your heart, and you think that this kind of thing can just go on and it'll fizzle out, and there won't be some kind of reckoning, there won't be some kind of punishment against society for this behavior, I just don't understand how you could feel that way. I really don't. It gives you a sinking. I have a sinking feeling, but that doesn't mean we stop fighting, and that sure as hell doesn't mean we stop fighting for liberty. We don't stop fighting for freedom. We don't stop fighting for the kids. We don't stop fighting for the elderly. We don't stop fighting for each other. That is one thing, no matter what happens, we have to continue doing. It's fighting for liberty for everyone. Not just a few, not just a select group of people, for everybody. Now, I don't mean unconstitutional wars in the Middle East, but I am talking about getting rid of bad leadership in your state government. I am talking about putting tyrants in their place. Yeah, Gary Wright says millstones are waiting for a whole bunch of pedophiles. That's why I say the Prometheus punishment sounds great to me. Maybe I shouldn't keep saying that. But I feel like the Prometheus punishment would be very appropriate for these sickos that get some kind of delight from ruining the innocence of a kid. I don't have any remorse for those type of people if something if something bad would happen to them. I would not like, oh, that's too bad. No, I would. I mean, I'm no gymnast, but I'd have a heck of a time not being out in my front yard doing cartwheels and backflips. Just to be honest with you. So anyway, I had to vent my spleen tonight, folks. You know, it's one of those things that I had to do. I had to make my feelings known because I haven't really spoken on it much. Well, I haven't really spoken on it at all. I did a little bit with Sam, but that's been it. Folks, I want to give a shout out to people here. I always want to give a shout out to Sam and Trish Britton, Off the Cuff Radio on molibertyradio.us. Again, because they were the first to give me my shot at radio and gave me all kinds of help and guidance in doing this, and something I want to continue doing. But there's a whole lot of other people. Now we got Patrick Holland from the Missouri Freedom Initiative, and we got all the folks like Voodoo Queen and Mad Mom and Gary Ride and all those folks like that who are very, very active. Okay? Then we have people like Tom Martz, who are teaching people their state constitution, and also does a radio show. Okay, we don't want to forget to talk about Tom Martz. We don't want to forget to show him some love. And we also don't want to forget about folks like Catherine Dreyer and Kirby Lane and their podcast, Rogue Politics. Because they do something a lot of other people don't do, and that's follow the money in government. There's a lot of folks out there who are doing a lot of good work and doing, just educating the masses on on government's role and on government abuses and tyranny. But not only do they educate you on it, they teach you how to fight back. They teach you how to get involved. They teach you how to educate yourself on freedom, on liberty, what those things actually mean, not what government tells you, not having you believe that your natural rights stem from government, but that your natural rights come from your Creator. And you are endowed at birth with those. And that they are simply enumerated in the Constitution. But first and foremost, as Tom has rightfully so drilled into my head, that we are born with these natural rights that are enumerated in the Constitution, but they are first and foremost natural rights as human beings that we all should get to enjoy. And because a tyrant doesn't like all these people, these cities that are just, the firearms are just everywhere. Oh my God, all these law-abiding citizens have guns, and we've got to, have a ballot initiative to do away with that because we got to be able to write our own gun laws in the state. Even though we have, firearm preemption laws that keeps them from doing that. Boy, they want to change that real quick. But yeah, folks, as much as I got on here and kind of vented tonight and made my thoughts be known and sounded all doom and gloom, I can't forget to talk about the people that I know and think very highly of and all the good work that they do. We can't forget about those people. As much negativity that is around us, we cannot forget that we have people, all those people I just spoke of, Sam and Trish, Patrick and his group, people like Mad Mom, Voodoo Queen, Gary Ride, a whole lot of others I'm missing out, Casey Rich, and a whole group of people. I couldn't name them all. There's too many. Folks like Tom Martz, folks like Catherine Dreyer and Kirby Lane. I'm missing some others. Don't let the negativity drown out what these folks are doing. Give them a listen. Give them a chance. Let them know that you appreciate what they're doing. Back them up. Give them a hand if you can. But show them some love. Now, they don't do it for the glory. I don't do this for the glory. I do it because it's necessary. I do it. Oh yeah, Doug and Maya, good one, Gary. Again, I'm blanking out. There's Patrick's got so many great people in an organization that everything just kind of blurs. But I don't want people to be so negative that we forget about the people who are doing good. And again, without all these folks that I mentioned that have supported me, asked me to speak at events and things like that, I would keep doing this, but sometimes you just feel like, am I reaching anybody? Is anybody, yeah, Ron Calzone. How did I forget about Ron Calzone? But are people listening? Do people care? And then you got all these fine folks that I've mentioned that helped you realize that people do care. And they want to see government confined to its roles. They want people to be free. They want to keep more of their money. They don't want to be taxed to death. They don't want to have to worry about wannabe tyrants regulating every facet of their life. They want to, they don't want people to be hurt, and they don't want people taking their stuff. And that's it. What these people want is very simple. I think a lot of us want things that are very simple, and that is to be left alone. To make our own decisions, to live our lives as we see fit, and as long as we're not intruding on another person's freedom, who gives a damn what you do? Yeah, I got a little fired up tonight. But again, I don't want people to forget about those who do great things here in the state of Missouri. And I want you to support them wholeheartedly. And if you see them or if you get a chance to meet them, you get a chance to talk to them, tell them thanks. And do one thing better. If you're not involved now, get involved. Make phone calls, write emails, make a trip to the Capitol. If you don't want to get involved in the state, get involved in your local level. Do something. You don't have to spend hours a day, a few minutes a day. Go to a city council meeting. Find out what's going on in your local area. Get involved, get educated. Because that is the only way we will defeat this. If you just let the people who are already doing it do it and don't join in and join the fight, what do you do when those people are gone? You just let it go by the wayside and go, well, it was a good fight, but I guess we're done. Or do you help in the cause? Do you fight for the chance for future generations to be more free than we are now? Is that what you want to do? Do you want the people who follow behind us, that come after us, future generations, to enjoy more freedom than we do now? I think the answer should be simply yes. That should be the answer. Not, for entertainment, I'm going to sit here and watch Tom or listen to Tom educate me on the Constitution, but then forget about it 5 minutes later and go, oh, Tom's doing a great job. I guess I can sit here on the couch and just watch TV. No. That is not the answer. Again, take a little time, get yourself educated, get involved. All right, for those of you watching the live stream right now, I'm gonna show you a couple of great photographs I took last Saturday of some sunflowers. If those of you might not have seen them, but for those of you listening on podcast or radio side, it's audio only. You won't be able to see them. But if you come to my YouTube channel and watch the video later on, you'll get to see them at the end of the show right now. So, with that being said, thanks to everybody who, again, thank you to all who watch the live stream, listen on radio or podcast. Again, I appreciate each and every one of you. Don't forget to check out molibertyradio.us, especially on Sunday nights from 6 to 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Sam and Trish Britton, Off the Cuff Radio. Don't forget to check out mofree.org. Sign up for the email list, and you'll get notified when there's going to be a live stream, which I think there was a chance it'd be tomorrow night. I don't know if that's changed. Saturday night, tomorrow night at, I think it's 7:30, something like that. Don't forget to check out Rogue Politics, which is Catherine Dreyer and Kirby Lane's podcast. You can also find them on YouTube. But don't forget to just give all these people like Tom and the rest support for the great things that they're doing. All right, so you folks have a great week, and we'll be back on August the 4th. A friend of the show, Jacob Turner, who's down around, I believe, the Joplin area, if I'm not mistaken. He's going to be running, I believe, for Missouri State Senate. He will be joining me to talk about his campaign for Missouri State Senate. So make sure you check that one out. If you haven't heard Jacob before, I know you're going to like him. He has been on, I know he's been on me with Push for Liberty. I think he may have been on one of my Missouri Liberty Report shows, but I can't remember exactly. But he's been on with me at least 2 times, possibly 3. So that'll be August 4th, the first Friday of August. So, all right, folks, have a great week. Have a great weekend, everybody. And we'll talk to you later.
Okay, yes.
Want more freedom? It starts with you. Join us next week on the Missouri Liberty Report and find out how you can get involved to take back your state.
Oh, I hit the wrong button again. Oh, I love it when I do that. Good times. Good times. Anyway, all right, folks, real quick, let me pull up the right screen here. I want to show you a few pics I got last weekend. As some of you know, I have tried like hell to get my wife the exact panoramic shot of a sunflower field that I've been wanting to get her for a long time. And so I'll show you those few pics that I got this past Saturday at a conservation area called Columbia Bottom outside St. Louis. Let me pull up my screen here. So here's the first one I got. And, yeah, this is what I've been trying for. All this color in the sky as the sun is going down, all this, that is what I've been trying for. And finally freaking got it. Got it last Saturday night. We left the house about 5, got there about 6:45. And I got this shot a little bit after 8 o'clock. It was about 20 after 8. I was getting ready to pack the camera up and go back to the car. My wife's like, you sure you don't want to take one more shot? Look back again. And saw this color pop out. I'm like, oop. And put the camera up over my head. Took 2 shots side by side. And got this great image. It worked out perfectly. And then I got a couple more. Let's see. Let me click on this so it acts right. Come on. Oh, I got this one. As the sun was coming out from behind a cloud here. And, you really don't want the sun coming through your camera lens directly into your eye peepers. And so I squatted down and let these sun rays come out between these sunflowers here and shot this photo. This one is but between the panoramic and this one are really 2 of my favorites, but I got one more. Oh, nope, I went the wrong way. And I like this one. Now, the reason I like this one is because I have more of a singular subject here, which is nice and sharp. And then you got all this nice, what photographers call bokeh, B-O-K-E-H. And that is everything behind it has this soft blur. So you get this one subject that's very sharp and, in really well in focus. And then everything behind it is slightly out of focus, and you get this soft blur. And you get those with portrait lenses because they have what they call more blades inside the camera lens. So the more blades, which are kind of part of the shutter operation, if you have like 9 blades or more, you get this very soft blurring of the background. And it works out really slick. So yeah, between these 3 are probably my 3 favorite photographs that I took Saturday. I got some more that were pretty good, but this one is really my favorite. I'm going to have, I believe, a 16 by 20 of this printed up. And this one I have in a cart on a canvas site. I'm going to do a 12-inch by 36-inch canvas of this one made. But yeah, I really nailed it. My mission is accomplished as far as this photo, as this type of photo goes for my wife. Sometimes, you do something, you have a hobby, and you kind of go, you start losing interest. And then I went out and got this shot, and it just, like, I got to keep going. Now I got to push myself to do something new and to nail it. So I just wanted to show those off a little bit because I was really, really proud of these photos. And I try not to brag on myself too much, but I was really freaking happy when these were done. After I edited them, I was really, really happy. All right, folks, with that being said, thanks for sticking around and enjoying a little bit of my photography. I really appreciate you guys, again, joining in with me tonight and hanging out with me. And, yeah, like I said, I got on here and ranted a little bit tonight, but I really needed to do that. I really did. So, again, thanks to Voodoo Queen, Mad Mom, Tom Martz, Gary Ride, to all you who joined in tonight on the live stream. Really appreciate you guys. Appreciate all your hard work, what you do to make Missouri, trying to make Missouri the freest state in the nation. Appreciate each and every one of you. With that being said, folks, I'm going to call it a night, get this edited. My friends are over at my daughter's house. Our friends from Minnesota are down. So I'm going to get this edited, uploaded to all the proper servers, and head back over that direction. And see if we're going to get some more much-needed rain, because skies are looking pretty dark, so hopefully that means more water for the lawn, because my lawn is looking, it perked up after the 4 inches of rain or so we got Wednesday night, but we could use a couple more inches of rain. But anyway, with that being said, folks, have a great weekend, everybody. Take care, be safe, and again, thank you so much. And we'll see you next Friday. I don't have a guest lined up, but I'm hoping to have somebody lined up next week. Tom, I think it's about time to have you on again as well. So if you're interested, shoot me a text, and we'll line up a Friday night to have you on, brother. All right, folks. Take care, everybody. Have a great weekend. We'll see you all next Friday.